SpecFlow tutorial part 8, step outline and a parameterization. In part 7 we have learned about a different hooks. So in this session we are going to learn about how to run a same scenario with a different dataset, and then we are going to learn about how to parameterize a different steps. So let me start this session. So when we guys are talking about a step outline and a parameterization, take an example of if you want to run a particular scenario with a different dataset. At that point of time we are going to use a step outline. So if you don't want to run a scenario with a different dataset, then we are going to use a scenarios as a keyword. And if you want to run a particular scenario with a different dataset, at that point of time we are going to use a scenario outline. And when we are using a scenario outline, we are also going to use a examples keyword along with the scenario outline, or you can say examples keyword is available with the scenario outline. And inside these examples we are going to provide a different datasets. First is a column name, and then we are going to use other rows for a different dataset. It means right now we can see this scenario outline here is a login with valid credentials, has two different rows. It means this scenario is going to execute 2 times. Another is when we guys are talking about a parameterization. So instead of writing a step again and again, here in this particular step we can see we are using when I provide a username and then opening curly brace and the name of the column which exists inside the examples, means this is a dataset. We want to parameterize it. The username, which is the column name, and then the closing bracket. Automatically this username column will be replaced with the dataset which is available inside the rows inside the examples. And we have another dataset which is this opening curly brace password. This is the column name here inside the examples, and then the closing curly brace. So whatever the column names, whenever you want to use it, or you can say whenever you want to use a dataset which existed here in the examples, if you want to use it inside the scenarios, then we need to provide a opening curly brace, closing curly brace, and inside the opening and closing curly brace we need to provide the header name, or you can say we need to provide the column name. So this is nothing but a parameterization. So parameterization helps for a better usability. The step definitions can include a parameter. So instead of creating a new step definition every time for each and every step, we are going to use a parameterization, and with the help of the parameterization we can reuse those existing steps as well. And we can see when I provide the username, in the username step definition we are going to use a standard user, and the next time this username will be replaced with the problem users and the password as well. So this parameterization helps us to provide a better reusability. Instead of creating every time a new step, we can reuse existing step definitions. So let me flip to Visual Studio to understand with an example. So right now we have this particular SpecFlow session project, and this SpecFlow session project we have created in the previous sessions. We have a NuGet packages, we have a SpecFlow NUnit, we are using a Selenium WebDriver as well, and we have also created a login.feature file. So this login.feature file we have created in the previous sessions. So when we guys are talking about this particular login with valid credentials, and if we want to execute this particular scenario with a different dataset, then what we need to parameterize it. It means first we need to convert this scenario to the scenario outline, and then we need to use examples keyword, and there in the examples keyword we need to provide the different dataset. Take an example of this particular website which we are using it in the previous sessions. We are also going to use it here in this particular session as well, which is this sourcedemo.com. Here we need to provide the username and the password, and then we are going to click this login button. And if you talk about the username and the password, here is a standard username, we are going to use it, and then the password is again a secret sauce. So when we talk about a scenario, if you want to run it with a multiple dataset, then we are going to use a one keyword which is this scenario outline. So this scenario outline help us to execute this particular scenario with a multiple dataset, or you can say we can parameterize this particular scenario with a different dataset. So let's use this. We are going to use examples as a keyword, and then what we need to provide the header name, or you can say we need to provide the column name as well here. So we have the username, and then we are also going to use a password. So if you talk about a data set, so let's commit here the username. So we are going to use a standard user, and when we talk about a password, the password is a secret sauce. So let's commit here. Then we also need to have another row. So let's commit here. In this particular website, we are saying problem user, and the password is going to be the same as we have for the standard user. This is going to be the secret sauce. So now we have converted the scenario to the scenario outline, and we have also provided the examples here. The first row is going to represent the column, so username, and the password is going to the column, and the remaining rows will be the different data sets. So right now we have a one data set 1, another is a data set 2 as well. So right now we have a 2 rows here inside the examples. It means this scenario is going to execute it 2 times. Now the question is, when we guys are talking about a username and the password, how we guys can pass it here, or you can say how we guys can put this particular data set here inside the rows. First, what we need to do is we need to parameterize these steps as well. So let's do one thing. Let's parameterize these steps. We can say whenever we want to use the data set from the examples, we need to provide the column name. Here is the username as a column name, and then if we want to use, or you can say if we want to parameterize this particular step with a different column with a different data set of this particular password, then we are going to use a opening curly braces and then the column name and then the closing curly braces. Now we can see these 2 steps are purple in color. It means whatever the step definitions which we have created earlier, now it is no more associated with this, because we have added this particular username as and a password here as well. It means we need to convert, or we need to update the existing step definitions. We have added the step definitions here inside the web steps. So if we scroll it little down, we have I provide a username. So whenever you want to parameterize any of the step, then we guys can use this dot and a star. It means it is going to accept any type of the integer. It is going to accept any character. It can be an integer, it can be special character, it can be a strings as well. Now we are accepting the value which existed here inside this username. If we talk about this particular step, we have this I provide the username. What we need to provide, or you can say we need to add a parameter here inside this particular method as well. So let's use this string, and here is the username as well. So now if we commit here inside this login.feature file, still it is coming purple in color. Let's do a build here as well to see if we get some change. And then if we commit here, now we can see the color of this particular step has changed. And if we say right click, go to definitions, and we have reached it here inside this I provide a username. And let's do one thing. Let's use this username. Instead of having a hard coded value, we can provide a parameter or the argument which we are getting it here inside the method. Now we guys can also parameterize this. We can say dot and a star. So this dot and star is a regular expression. It is going to take any integer, any characters as well. So we need to provide a string, and this time it is going to the password. So let's replace this particular keyword, or you can say the parameter, with the password as well. So now let's have a rebuild here. So if we commit here inside this login.feature file, and we can see we don't have any purple color for these steps. It means they have the corresponding step definitions inside the web steps.cs file. Now let's go and execute these particular scenarios. We can go to test explorer, and here is a spec flow session. So we can see we have right now the count of the scenario is 2. Right, select this and say run. It is running this particular scenario. It has opened this particular swag lag. It has logged in, and then it is going to log out, or you can say it is going to close. Start running the second scenario as well. So with the help of that particular data set, we can invoke a particular scenario with the multiple data sets as well. So with the help of this scenario outline, we can run this particular scenario with the multiple data sets. If you want to add a more scenario, then we are going to copy this particular line and we can paste it here. So this scenario is going to run it with a different, or you can say it is going to run it 3 times. If you want, you can add more columns here and we can parameterize those step definitions as well. So right now we are using this particular package, which is this SpecFlow NUnit 3.9.74. So in case if you want to use some integer values as well, take an example if I am saying and I calculate 20 as value. Then if you want to parameterize this particular step definition, then first we need to add a step here. Right click on say define steps, and we can see it is having the int p0 as well. So let's copy to a clipboard, and inside the web steps we can paste it just below this particular step definitions. Now if we commit here inside this login.feature, let's have a rebuild. It is going to convert this particular purple color to the black color, and we can see it is converted to the black color as well. It means it is having a corresponding step definitions, and we can see whenever we are accepting the parameters, we are automatically, or you can say the SpecFlow is going to convert automatically the string to the integer as well. So sometimes it happens, instead of using this particular expressions, can we use a int as well here? So let's commit here on this particular login.feature file. So let's have a rebuild here and see if we have a change, and we can see we are getting this step purple in color. It means whatever the things which we have added it here, it is not working. So if you want to use such type of the expressions, then what we need to do is we need to update a SpecFlow NUnit package as well. So right now we have this 3.n. If you want to use such type of expressions, then we need to go to a SpecFlow 4.0. So let's do one thing, right click on save, manage NuGet packages, and if we scroll it down, we have the SpecFlow NUnit. We can see the right now the stable version is 3.9.74, and if we want to use it for right now the available versions in a beta, so we can use it for the timing. And let's have an update. So okay. And if we commit here inside this login.feature file, so let's have a build here. Now we can see we are getting this particular step as a black, or you can say it is having a step definition. So whenever you want to use such type of the expressions, instead of using a old-fashioned regular expression dot and star, so this is going to consider everything. So if you want to make this as an integer, then we are going to use such an expression as well. So if we commit here in the login feature, so let's commit here, I say and I calculate, and if we want to add some different values, we can add it to a 30 as well. So in this way we can parameterize it. If we want to convert this integer to a double, then we can commit here and say let's have a double here as well. If we commit here in the login.feature file, say 2, and we are getting this purple in color, it means let's have a rebuild here and to see whether we able to accept. Now we can see previously we as were using an integer, now inside this particular step definition we are using a double as well. So now what we need to do is we need to provide a double here as well. So whatever the value is going to commit, that's going to save it here as a parameterized value. So if we scroll it here, we can see we have this I provide a password, and when we commit here inside this we can see I provide a password. So right now we are using a old-fashioned regular expression. So if we want, we can use another part as well. So let's use a string. If you want to use a string, then instead of using a dot and a star, we can use a string as well. So whatever the things those are available here which is related to a string and which is related to a double, parameterized step help us to save a different step definition. So instead of creating a new step definition every time, we can parameterize a step, and that parameterized step is going to have a different data set as well. So parameterize help us for reusability. The step definitions can include parameters. This means that it does not necessary to define a new step definition for each step, that just differs slightly with the different data sets. So that's it in this session.